My ex and I divorced about 15 years ago, and we have shared custody of our daughter. In the divorce, she wanted our house, but I fought hard against it because it's been my family home for 3 generations before I inherited it. In the end, we came to a compromise signed off by the judge. Basically, she gets to live in the house rent-free until our daughter turns 18, then I get it back. I had to pay the utilities, maintenance, and property taxes the entire time. In addition, she can't make any modifications or upgrades to the house without my written permission. She's solely responsible for the cost, and the work has to be performed by an insured and legally licensed professional. I've been sending her move-out notices for months in anticipation of my daughter's 18th birthday, and recently that came to pass. The day after, I showed up at the house with a contractor because I wanted some work done before I moved back in. At first, she refused to let me in until I reminded her that I'm the legal owner of the house. According to our divorce agreement signed by the judge, she's no longer allowed to be there, and I'll call the police if she doesn't let me in. She got the point and opened the door. I was surprised nothing was packed, and it didn't seem like she was moving at all. We were arguing as I walked through and inspected my house. She wanted extra time, and I told her to be out by the end of the week or I'll have her stuff thrown out. When I walked into the living room, I was shocked into silence. The living room was expanded by a wall being torn down, and the bedroom that was once merged into it. She turned my 4-bedroomed house into a 3-bedroom one. I didn't sign off on this, and from the looks of it, the work was probably done by her boyfriend and not a professional. I yelled at her and told her I was going to sue her for everything she has, then I left. She went crying to our daughter and my family. Now everyone is telling me to give her another month to find a place and not to sue her. My daughter is firmly on her mother's side and thinks I'm the idiot for kicking her mother out a couple of weeks before Christmas and suing her. This is why I'm here. I think I'm right, and legally I am right, but my daughter's opinion of me matters to me. Am I the idiot? Edit. I inherited the house during our marriage, and since we were still in the honeymoon phase, I placed her name on the deed. After that, I remortgaged the house twice, once to get a better rate and once for the money we needed. All of this led to my attorney advising me to compromise. He said there was a real risk of losing the house, so I compromised. 15 years with no rent. 15 years with no rent. Can you imagine what your life could be if you hadn't had to pay 15 years of rent while raising a child? That's $180,000 if we're talking $1,000 a month. And I'm not saying life with a kid after the divorce was all sunshine and roses, but 15 years without rent is a shot at generational wealth. And all she did was break the damn house. And what does the daughter think? She's 18 and can do all the same math. And it sounds like she had a live-in boyfriend in the house. Like, what the heck? They haven't had rent or utilities for 15 years. Where did their money go? I would honestly have a police escort her and all her crap off the property, have her arrested for trespassing if she steps foot on the property again, and sue her for everything you possibly can. Opie needs a lawyer though. There are lots of laws around tenancy that have to be carefully followed, so this is 100% legal because it will end in court. And of course, not the idiot. This woman has known the date of their daughter's birthday was the end of her residency for a decade. She's had 15 years to prepare. If she couldn't, then an extra month won't help. Call the police, show the divorce order, and have her removed forcibly. Geez, the rules for this arrangement could not be more clear. I don't know where you live and the worth of your house, but where I live, there's a huge price difference between a 3-bedroom house and a 4-bedroom one. Your ex's action caused you to lose tens, if not $100,000. Let's not even talk about the removal of a wall can actually cause structural problems. I get a structural engineering inspection of the entire property to ensure the lawsuit includes everything. My younger sister Tessa has been with Brian since her freshman year of high school. They are currently seniors in college. My mom has always loved Brian and treated him like family. He has some issues with his mom and spends most of his time at our house. 6 months ago, Brian pranked my wife on a family trip by destroying all of her makeup. She found it in the toilet and in the sink filled with water and was irate. I've never seen her like this. We woke my mom up screaming and demanded she finds out who did it. She didn't seem to think it was a big deal and tried to go back to sleep. Finally, she realized we were serious, so she woke Tessa, Brian, our other sister, and her boyfriend up to get to the bottom of it. Brian couldn't keep a straight face and finally admitted to it. My mom again tried to act like it wasn't a big deal, but I cussed Brian out and demanded he replaces everything. We came up with an estimate which was just over $1,000. Makeup is her passion, and my mom paid it because she said Brian was just a college kid. I was pretty angry and we cut contact with Brian. It's been since implied that he was bribed with a fancy watch to do this and everyone was drinking, but to me there is no excuse. I still don't mess with Brian. Apparently my mom's fiancé offered to give him a Rolex, but he claims the whole conversation was a joke and it isn't his fault that Brian was too wasted to get that. Well, my mom is currently planning a wedding and was talking about how she has no one to walk her down the aisle as she's mad at her father, but she feels like it's weird to not have someone. Brian volunteered and she was clearly really moved by it and said yes. I internally felt sick. I told my mom that if she publicly honoured Brian like that, I would not be able to go. My mom seemed really taken aback and said I was being crazy and we needed to put this aside for a wedding. I said I was sorry, but I could not go if Brian was in a position of honour because what he did was despicable. My mom said I was selfish and an idiot and was like, fine, don't come. Brian got mad and said I was punishing my mom, and Tessa was screaming at me, calling me selfish and a horrible son. Clearly not the idiot. You don't have to attend a wedding with mom's fiancé, who hates your wife enough to pay someone to destroy her property, Brian, who hates your wife enough to actually destroy her stuff, and your mom, who doesn't care about your wife at all. But it's time to set some boundaries with your family and maybe talk to your wife if there's more she didn't tell you because she wanted to keep the peace. Yeah. So bullying your wife and destroying her property was on your potential future stepfather's mind as a funny joke? I think skip the wedding and wonder aloud to Brian that maybe it'd be funny for him to wear clown shoes down the aisle and leave it to him to ruin things on his own. They were obviously making fun of Opie's wife for her interest in makeup. Why wouldn't Mom want you, her son, to walk her down the aisle? There is a lot of background info missing here. However, I absolutely do not blame you for not attending the wedding. Mum sees Brian as a son and chooses him over her actual son to walk her down the aisle, even after he destroyed hundreds of dollars worth of property. Clearly, Opie and his wife have little standing or value in this family. Don't go, and seriously consider how much contact you choose to have with any of them going forward. Yelling, insults, paying you off on Brian's behalf, lack of respect and insane drama. This isn't normal. I always wonder who the heck all these people are who act like this. I was best friends with Jen from preschool through 9th grade. Her home life was pretty rough and she practically lived at my house. My parents called her the daughter they never had. When we were in 9th grade, I asked her out. It took some convincing, but she eventually said yes. She broke up with me over text the day after our date. She barely went to school, didn't text, and wasn't at my house at all for the next few weeks. She eventually showed up at my house in the middle of the night. My parents took her in, no questions asked. Then she left in the middle of the night a few weeks later. I admit I didn't love having her around and didn't make it easy on her, but her leaving was hard on everybody. My parents had to go to therapy. Last year I moved out for college, but I was still planning to visit. A few months after I moved out, Jen showed up at my parents' house pregnant and with a baby. They took her in again, then called my brothers and me asking how we felt about her staying with them. My brothers were okay with it, but I can't forgive her for what she did a few years ago. My parents let her stay anyways, but said they had conditions on her staying with them, like her going to therapy and either enrolling in college or getting a job. I told them I still wasn't okay with it. We argued a bit and I told them I wouldn't visit if she lived there. She's still there and I held true to my word and I haven't visited since. They're trying to get me to visit them, but I won't be there if Jen is living there. They're calling me petty and saying I need to forgive her, but I have a right to be upset. Am I the idiot? So, at 15 you were told no, and then after bullying her, which you refer to as it took some convincing, she eventually said yes. You had one single date, which you harassed her into agreeing to. Then you refer to her not wanting a second date, she didn't want the first date either by the way, as breaking up with you. She then spent weeks avoiding you, which you still didn't pick up on. You don't say how old you are now, but you still resent her for not wanting to date you. You are the idiot. You forgot the part where OP didn't love having her around and didn't make it easy on her, meaning that OP took a home life that could potentially have been stable and safe for a girl whose original home life seems anything but, and turned it into a living nightmare for her. All because she turned down a second date after being bullied into a first one. OP, I disagree with your family. You don't need to forgive anything because you have nothing to forgive. She did nothing wrong. What you need to do is beg and grovel and pray for forgiveness from both her and your family, for everything you've done to make this girl's life miserable. If you can't do that, keep staying away. It's better for everyone, especially that poor girl. I do sympathize with my sister. I love her very much, but she's made some very poor, in my opinion, decisions. I, female 33, am 6 years older than my sister. She's a brilliant and talented musician. I cannot praise her skill enough. Truthfully, I'm somewhat jealous of it. I didn't get that. There are 4 kids in my family, my 2 older brothers, myself and my sister. My brothers are much older than us. They love us, but they're more like young uncles to us. The young one was in university when my sister was born. My parents had money set aside for us that our grandparents had saved for us. Our parents invested the money and contributed to it. They weren't horrible people, so they didn't take it for themselves or hold it over us to control us. When we graduated from high school, we were told there was money for us. We could use it for school or investment or whatever. It was ours. The only stipulation was that we would get it in yearly installments for 6 years. I guess that way we wouldn't blow it all and have a chance to grow up before it was gone. I got some financial assistance for my education, so I actually managed to save almost half of mine, enough for a sizable down payment on a house when I was 24. That was the year my sister graduated. She decided to go see the world. She travelled through Europe and Australia. She went snowboarding in New Zealand and Argentina. I told her that she should save some for school. She said she was making money busking and that she was okay. Then the global issue happened. I thought maybe she would come home and study while the world was shut down. Nope, she stayed in Indonesia because it was cheap to live there. Well, now she's home. She's down to her last installment. My parents signed over the account to her with all the money that was left. It's enough to get her back to Indonesia, but now she's looking at the account and realizing she's at the end. There is no more coming. She asked me out for coffee and was crying because she might have to use the money to pay for an apartment and then figure out what to do. She wants to go teach English as a second language in Asia, and while you can do that with certification, you won't get paid very much. You need a proper degree for some of the well-paying positions. I didn't say I told you so, but she could guess what I was thinking. She says I'm an idiot for judging her choices and not supporting her lifestyle. I wish I'd travelled more while I was younger, but I got an education instead. So did our brothers. She chose to use her money that way. I feel bad for her, but I told her it wasn't a great choice. Not the idiot, not supporting her lifestyle, huh? She says support but means subsidize. She wants you to give her more money so she can continue pretending to live a life she can't afford. She made her choices and now has to deal with the results. Not your problem. You are the idiot. I'm tired of this crap that everyone should be completely selfish and generally doesn't owe anyone anything. While that's technically true, go live in a cave then. Because if you live in a real society, you help people and they help you. If not financially, emotionally and with kind words. Trying to help them find a job, referencing them, etc. I understand a lot of you have been screwed over, but damn, a little empathy and compassion doesn't hurt that much. How much do kind words help, though? Realistically, her choices were lazy, entitled, and stupid. Her financial support and musical talent were incredible assets, and she squandered both. She knew how much she was getting in each installment, the cut-off date, and busking wasn't covering her expenses. Opie tried to do the actual kind thing and get Sis to see reason and plan ahead, but she wouldn't listen. Not the idiot, Opie. You did your best when it counted. Unfortunately, your sister's free ride is over, that's all. I've been dating a guy for a few months now. He's kind, caring and funny. A little eccentric, but nothing about him has ever seemed off. The other day we were talking about something we wanted to buy together, so he opened up his phone to the AliExpress app. When he clicked the search bar, I saw the search history had multiple variations of hidden spy camera, secret camera and Wi-Fi camera. When I saw this, I wanted to double check, so I took his phone and typed the first few letters into the search bar, and sure enough, the variations dropped down from the search bar in bold. At first, he pretended not to know what I was talking about. Then he said, "It came up as a suggestion because you typed the first few letters in." I was calm but kept telling him no, that's not true. Then he told me he and his friend had been talking about how she recently stayed at a hotel where she suspected there were hidden cameras, so they decided to research them together to see what they looked like. This also sounded like BS to me, and at this point I was kind of freaking out. I'd never seen him so annoyed before, but he was in disbelief that I thought he'd really be the kind of person to buy hidden cameras. He said, "Okay then, I will call my friend right now and she will tell you it's true." And I stayed silent. Then he said, "Search my whole room, there are no cameras." Then he texted his friend to prove to me the conversation they had was real. The text said something like this: "Hey, remember when we were researching spy cams together? Well, my partner saw it and they think I have hidden cameras. Can you reply so I can prove we talked about them together and that I don't have any cameras?" He said he felt embarrassed he had to send a text like that to his friend. I feel like his texting his friend kind of proves his story, because otherwise he'd be outing himself as a total creep to her too, and I feel bad for jumping to a conclusion and accusing him. It's been a few days and I think I believe him, but things are still kind of tense between us. I don't think he forgives me. Am I the idiot for jumping to that conclusion, or is it a rational reaction? Not the idiot. His text was telling his friend what to say. It was super specific and basically spoon-fed the info to them to confirm. What looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck is often a duck. Don't ignore your gut. Marinara flags all over the place here. Yep, his behavior is way suspect. See how his story changes twice when you don't believe the first one? Why lie at first if you don't feel caught and don't have something to hide? Why not come out with the "oh, I was just curious what they look like" line first? I can't say for sure that this is what is going on, but I don't trust him.